Sir, hands where I can see them. You fit a description.
I'm standing here quietly. What description are you referring to?
Just cooperate, all right? No need to make this difficult.
I'm cooperating. Respect goes both ways, officers.
We'll see about that.
Remember, officers, you know all this is being...
Metal clanged, echoing through the empty station. A voice barked, "Hands where I can see them." Time seemed to pause, and the air thickened like it was holding its breath. He stood calm, dressed in a dark gray suit, briefcase in hand. His eyes were quiet but sharp, burning with focus. Two officers approached, their badges catching the flickering lights, their steps deliberate. Phones lifted from pockets, screens glowing in the dim light. Someone whispered. He didn't even move. In that moment, power felt forced, rehearsed, and injustice felt deeply personal. Later, those same officers would face the man they tried to control, only this time, he would hold the authority. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city in the comments. And if you want to see the full story unfold, please subscribe before we continue. The station hummed quietly, the sound of a tired heartbeat beneath the city. He stood near the yellow line, briefcase in hand, scrolling through his notes for tomorrow. The lights overhead flickered, buzzing with a strange rhythm. The scent of iron and rain seeped into the tunnels. People moved around him in silent patterns, heads down, earbuds in, as if the world was not noticing. He blended in, invisible, until he did not. A gentle tap on the shoulder broke the rhythm. "Sir, can we talk?" The voice did not ask. It claimed control. He turned slowly, a polite smile in place, heart steady. Two officers stood there, one tall and wide, the other leaning casually, smirk playing on his lips. "You fit a description," the taller one said with a chuckle. The words were familiar, the same script repeated countless times. He raised his hands slowly, calm and deliberate. Years of experience taught him that survival often came from patience, not argument. Around them, the air shifted. Passengers paused. Phones lifted. A woman whispered, "Don't speak." The tension built, sticky and electric, even the trains seeming to hesitate as if sensing what was happening. The officers tried a small jab, voices mocking lightly. He adjusted his tie and said softly, "I'm just trying to get home." The shorter one laughed, dismissive, while someone's phone clicked, a faint red light glowing as the first recording began. He felt the hum of patience inside him, steady as a live wire. He had been here before, on streets, in offices, in classrooms where respect was earned only if he measured up. Tonight, the crowd's eyes were heavier, waiting to see if composure could hold under pressure. The fluorescent buzz above matched the pulse in his chest. The energy thickened, somewhere between tension and inevitability. What would you do if you were there? Step in, record, or look away? Comment your thoughts. Like the video if you're following, and share it so others can witness what happens next. A low laugh bounced off the tiled walls. The officer's mockery tried to push him, make him flinch. His jaw was set, silence his shield. "Respect speaks louder than power," he said, quietly, but every word landed sharp. The taller officer leaned in, smirked, but his words carried no real weight against the calm around the man. Phones rose, recording everything, capturing reality in glowing red dots. The crowd's whispers grew, turning into a quiet conscience surrounding the scene. The shorter officer edged closer, ego flashing like a weapon. The man did not step back. He allowed the cuffs to close on his wrists without resistance. People around whispered, noting how steady he remained. Someone muttered, "This isn't right." Another clicked their phone. Reality was now captured in pixel form, undeniable. As he was led up the steps, his briefcase fell. A small nameplate slipped out, catching the light. Judge Elias Monroe. Gasps echoed in the crowd. The recording continued, receipt after receipt of truth. What would you have done seeing that name? Spoken up or stayed silent? Comment below. Tap like if you want to see how the story continues. He walked with a quiet smile, as if he already knew the ending, though the real story was just beginning. The next morning, the courtroom was filled with a different kind of tension. The lights were softer than the metro, but the air felt just as charged. Two officers sat stiffly at the defense table, uniforms sharp, confidence polished like glass. The bailiff called the case. The People versus Officers Lane and Carter. Silence fell over the room. The door opened, and he walked in. The man from the station, no suit now, a robe instead, authority wrapped around him like armor. Every eye shifted toward him as if pulled by gravity. The officers froze, recognition hitting them like a wave. Their small smiles vanished, replaced by tight, nervous lines. He did not rush to speak. He took his seat, adjusted his glasses, and looked over the docket as though nothing unusual was happening. Control had moved. Every movement was deliberate, quiet, precise. Finally, he spoke, calm and clear. "Gentlemen, I believe you know why we are here." The words fell like a gavel, firm yet measured. Reporters scribbled notes, cameras clicked, and the room held its breath. Bodycam footage played. The man from the metro standing still. The officer's laughter. The cuffs. The red recording lights reflected in the glass. Receipt number 4. Every action was documented, every truth unhidden. The officers avoided his gaze, one chewing his lip, the other gripping his knee. The arrogance that had seemed untouchable in the station now collapsed quietly in real time. He did not smirk or gloat. He simply allowed the truth to speak. Power did not need shouting. It remembered itself in patient action. The balance had shifted. Every person in the room could feel it, as if the universe had subtly corrected itself. What would you feel if you were there? Relief, justice, or something heavier? Share your thoughts in the comments, and make sure this story is seen by more people. Memories flickered behind his eyes. Marching in the rain during law school, his mother's hand steady on his shoulder, whispering, "Hold your head high." The scar on his wrist throbbed, not pain, but memory. Every choice, every moment of restraint, led to this one. The hearing unfolded methodically. Bodycam clips played alongside witness statements and paperwork that proved the officers had acted without cause. Receipt number 5. The policy memo confirming the arrest had no legal grounds. He did not raise his voice, did not need to. Respect was earned through deliberate action, one calm choice at a time. The courtroom released a collective exhale, some in relief, some in shame. The officers lowered their eyes, the weight of arrogance pressing down harder than any formal sentence could. Their apologies were quiet, almost whispered, but genuine for the first time. When the gavel finally fell, it was not a sound of celebration, but of release. The truth had been recognized, balance restored, and dignity upheld. Outside, the metro hummed softly again, carrying a different lesson. Even a system of noise and chaos could learn empathy through patience and courage. Cameras flashed as he walked past, unshaken, calm. Justice did not roar. It resonated in measured steps and quiet confidence. A young man in the crowd kept his phone recording, whispering to himself, "Now that's how you change the story." Moments like these were rare, but powerful. They showed that composure and patience could rewrite the narrative. Viewers, if this moment reached you, where are you watching from? Drop your city below. Hit like, subscribe, and share this story so more people can witness how courage and restraint can reshape a moment, and maybe even a life. The days that followed were quiet, but heavy. Word of the courtroom scene spread through the city, carried on whispers, phones, and online posts. People replayed the moment when Judge Elias Monroe's calm authority had transformed tension into accountability. He returned to his routine, but the memory of the metro station, the eyes, the phones, the silent witnesses, remained like a pulse beneath his own heartbeat. He walked the same streets, briefcase in hand, but now each step carried weight not from fear, but from the understanding of responsibility. Every person he passed seemed to register something different. A mixture of relief, curiosity, or hope. The city itself felt smaller and larger at the same time, compressed by the knowledge that one person's composure could ripple outward, touching lives in ways neither they nor he fully realized. At the station, where it had all begun, people looked up differently. Phones were still raised, but the air had changed. No longer just recording fear, the crowd now captured proof of dignity, resilience, and truth. Someone whispered, "He stayed calm." Another nodded, understanding without words. The lessons weren't just legal, they were human. Inside the courtroom, Judge Monroe's days were steady and deliberate. Every case, every decision, reminded him of the silent power of patience. He remembered faces from that night, the officers who had underestimated him, the phones recording every detail, and the quiet eyes of strangers who witnessed what was right. Power, he understood, was not in the volume of one's voice, but in the steadiness of one's choices. Occasionally, he glanced at a small photo on his desk. His mother, her hand on his shoulder, whispering, "Hold your head high." It reminded him that courage often began quietly, long before the world noticed. The scar on his wrist, faint but constant, reminded him of lessons learned under pressure, moments where restraint had been harder than reaction, but more rewarding. In classrooms and lecture halls, in quiet conversations with colleagues and students, Judge Monroe shared these lessons subtly. He spoke not of victory or revenge, but of patience, integrity, and the importance of calm action. One phrase became his quiet mantra: respect carries further than force. Those who heard it carried it forward, like a quiet ripple across a vast pond. And yet, despite the calm, he knew the work was not done. Stories of injustice continued to emerge, and every time, the city's heartbeat changed slightly with each new witness, each new act of restraint. Justice, he realized, was not a moment, but a continuous thread woven through countless decisions, choices, and silent observations. A young lawyer approached him one afternoon, hesitating. "Judge Monroe," she said, "how did you remain so calm?" He smiled softly. "Calm is a choice," he replied. "It isn't about fear or anger. It's about understanding what matters, and holding on to that, even when the world expects something else." Outside, in the same metro where it all began, life went on. Trains arrived, commuters shuffled past, and yet the memory of that one night lingered. Some passed unnoticed, but others paused, caught by the echo of what had happened. Phones still recorded, but now they captured the possibility of change, of courage in quiet moments, and the reminder that dignity could hold against injustice. Viewers, if you stayed with this story, reflect: how would you act if faced with injustice? Where do you find strength in moments that demand calm over reaction? Share your thoughts and stories below. Your voice, like the witnesses that night, can carry proof of truth forward. The city moved forward, but the echoes of that night stayed alive. Judge Elias Monroe carried the memory with him, not as a burden, but as a guide. Every step, every decision, was colored by the understanding that patience and dignity could transform moments of fear into moments of justice. People noticed. Quietly, without fanfare, the city began to shift. In the metro station, commuters no longer ignored each other. Phones still glowed, but now the recordings were of courage, not confrontation. Conversations began with careful words, eyes meeting, small gestures of respect spreading through the crowd. A young man, inspired by that night, shared the story with friends. A woman replayed the footage, teaching her children about composure. The ripple of one man's choice reached farther than anyone could see. At the courthouse, Judge Monroe's calm presence shaped each day. Lawyers and students observed him, learning the quiet strength of steady hands and measured words. Decisions were delivered not with anger but with clarity, the authority of someone who understood both the power and the responsibility of his role. He did not seek attention. the results spoke for themselves. Justice was not performance, it was persistence. Memories of the officers lingered, but they were no longer sources of tension. They had learned, in small ways, what humility could mean. Their apologies, though quiet, reflected genuine understanding. The courtroom was no longer just a place of law. It had become a place of reflection, where actions and consequences met in careful balance. Judge Monroe returned to everyday routines. He walked the streets, visited the same stations, observed people without interference, aware that influence did not require loudness. One glance, a patient smile, a word chosen carefully, these were the tools he used. Even brief encounters carried meaning. In each interaction, he reinforced that dignity, patience, and quiet courage could change lives more than force or anger ever could. In private moments, he revisited the memory of his mother's voice. "Hold your head high." Those words remained a compass, reminding him that courage began long before the world watched. The scar on his wrist, a quiet reminder of past moments, connected him to the choices that defined him. Each decision in life, he realized, was a chance to uphold respect and integrity, even when the easier path was to react with frustration or fear. The city continued to move, carrying on its rhythms, but the impact of one night persisted. People remembered the man who stayed calm, who allowed truth to speak louder than force. Young students repeated the story, learning that restraint and integrity were as much a part of justice as laws themselves. And somewhere, someone facing fear in their own life drew strength from the knowledge that calm courage could rewrite a story, change a moment, and even influence the future. Outside, the metro hummed quietly, no longer just a place of transit, but a reminder of what could happen when patience met opportunity. Phones still recorded, but now they held proof of dignity, hope, and integrity. The ripple continued, touching lives in ways both visible and unseen. Viewers, this story is a reminder. Change often begins quietly. Courage is patient. Strength is measured. Share this story, let others see what calm resolve can do, and remember that even small actions can reshape the world around you. The world notices those who hold steady, and sometimes that quiet perseverance is the loudest message of all.